everyone. Welcome again to another episode of CamCast with your host, Cam. It's nice to see you all again. Thank you all for listening to those who have been listeners lately of my past few episodes, or all of them. It's nice to see you all here again for another one. Well, without further ado, today I have another interesting topic that I'd like to discuss with you all, interested persons. Today, we are going to be talking about offense versus defense. Yes, it is a interesting sports concept. But yeah, so I want to kind of talk about offense versus defense. This is where, we're going to be using examples and analogies and comparisons from sports. But this is going to be more so about just daily dealings, in a sense. And I don't mind even sharing a few of my daily dealings, for the heck of it. So, without further ado, once again, let's get into it. Thank you all for joining and tuning in today. So, offense versus defense. The first thing we're going to get into about this, or what do you call them, subtopics that we're going to discuss is, in a sense, the art of listening. Now, I know many might be like, oh, here we go again. Yeah, it's basically just like reading. It's a discipline that takes some effort and some coordination in order to accomplish. Listening is something that, it's not easy to do. Even with some of my other episodes that I might have put on other platforms, I've had people even say, it was a bit to, to listen to everything that I had to say. And I said, did you get something out of it at least? That's all that really matters. It's about more so of quality, not quantity. So as long as you took something from it, it didn't even have to be every point that I conveyed in my message. But as long as you got something, I'm satisfied. And so should you. Along with that, though, listening is something that I remember back when I was in college, in undergrad, on my way out in my last years. If there would be certain questions on an exam or a test or a quiz that one of my professors noticed, he would always say that he would read the question again and say, okay, about 90% of you got this incorrect. And when he would read it and explain it, as soon as he explained it, everybody would be like, oh, now. And then the next thing he would always say is, reading is fundamental. Honestly, listening is too. And it would always get him. Like, man, how did I miss that? Had I read the question or maybe listened before, then... And sometimes you have to read things aloud so that you can hear them. But that doesn't necessarily mean shout it out. You could whisper it to yourself. But, so, with that being said, basically... It's fundamental. And, y'all know the popular proverb, we're given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I think in the olden days, I think that was more respected than it is today. And it's okay. Life is what you make it, You want it to be harder, it's gonna be harder. You want it to be, I'm not going to say easier, but better, then there are ways to accomplish that. It just all depends on what you're willing to do. And if listening and disciplining yourself is in your alley, then there you go. Oftentimes, when I've had situations or whatever with certain people, that's kind of just been the thing, in a sense, is, well, eventually, and this isn't just arguments, it's just they'll eventually understand what I'm trying to say, maybe, and it's just simply about just listening. But listening is more than just being quiet. I don't want to say paying attention, because that's kind of basically what it is. Whenever listening is more so about not just hearing what one is saying, it's more so about, like, some teachers, for example, I don't mean to keep switching over like that, but for example, some teachers will say, hey, put your hands down in the class if they're trying to explain an assignment that maybe 4 or 5 students have already come up to them and put, to their faces and said, hey, we don't understand this. 9 times out of 10, everybody, if they haven't gotten to that point yet, they're probably going to have the same question. So why not go ahead and address this now? Whenever they say put your hands down, it basically just means whatever perspective or thoughts that you have on mind right now, discipline them, put them aside so that you can listen and actually learn something and gain something from this. Because, see, if you're so busy focused on your perspective, nothing can enter. So, I just found that interesting. When I started to listen more, it wasn't easy. I wasn't really raised by a lot of individuals that were big listeners. They were more so about just getting their point across. I remember talks today, from, a while back, just basically saying, try to please see it from my point. And I'm thinking, I've always done that. Can you give my perspective a shot? Because it always seems like that becomes the answer at the end of the day. And there's really I wouldn't necessarily say I'm doing that for appreciation. It's just that you discredit my point of view a lot, but it winds up being the overall answer. So, we can do this a lot faster. You just listen. I'm not saying I'm always right. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I think maybe sometimes multiple perspectives being put together can arrive at a better answer, and sooner and faster. The faster you get it done, the better off the more time you have the benefit from it. You know what I mean? So, in a sense, basically, it's just try to put your perspectives aside sometimes and listen to another one. You'll be amazed at how much you might learn, how much you might gain. And not just for this particular conversation or interaction, but even for another one, like with somebody else. You might be able to help somebody else. Think about it. So, with that also being said, I had to tell a few people that, and they may have not wanted to admit it to me that it helped. And that's fine. Like I said, I don't necessarily need the whatever you want to call it. Basically, you don't have to really tell me. In other words, as long as it helps you out, you can benefit in silence. As long as you're growing, because that's really what it's all about, That heck, I can treat that as my appreciation, just seeing it done, knowing that somebody else is going to have a smile on their face, right? So, in addition to that, my next question is usually, what is it that you are defending? That's actually not how I wrote it. But what are you defending? I've had ideas. I've had thoughts, this and that, where I ran them across others, this and that, those people that I know, even some people that I don't know. And usually when I face defense, like I said, I mean, it's nature. It's natural. So the thing about it is I expect defense. But my only thing about it is, what is it that you're defending? Do you know? See, the thing about it is, if you don't, and sometimes a defense could come from that too, just by not really knowing what you're defending. But the thing about it is, if you don't know what you're defending, why are you defending it? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just give it some thought. Bring a case to the table, but make it one that does not necessarily, it's not just against mine because of experiences. It's going to be against mine because of logic behind those experiences. You know what I mean? So when I say logic, I basically just mean like, don't say you're against it just because it makes you feel some kind of way or this or that or whatever. Because if it made you feel some kind of way, that's probably a good thing. Sometimes it's good to be uncomfortable. Don't knock somebody else or run to defense against them just because they simply want to step outside of their comfort zone, do something that you might not feel too comfortable with doing. But I mean, like I said, that doesn't equate, that doesn't sum up, or it's not sufficient enough for a defense in that sense. Like, because it's like, once again, what are you defending? And you actually, I wouldn't even say you make yourself look bad, but it's more so of like, I mean, let's talk about it. Like, give me at least 5 legit reasons for why this is a bad idea. Because I think I can give you 10 for why it might be a good one. So let's chew on that for a minute. Take a second out to think a little bit. Or digest, whichever you prefer. But yes, that's honestly kind of what it's about. It's, what are you defending? Normally, I've been in areas where, and I'm sure other people might have been too, but I've been in areas where my impact or my idea might have or could have a positive impact on any number of people or any group of people. It really can. And I've run into people who have respected that, but I've also run into a lot of people who haven't. And that's not a problem. It's just the thing about it is, especially if you are one that I'm looking up to, it just has its effect of, well, why is it that every time this person with this perspective, if they might not like something or be uncomfortable with something, all of a sudden I have to change my ways or change my way of looking at things simply because of that person? Okay, well, in this case, what makes their comfort or their, how should I say it, what they feel comfortable with, what they like, what they're used to, their normalities, or, what their expectations, what makes theirs so valuable to where it must be respected, to where as mine has to be put aside or disrespected or neglected, what makes theirs so unique. You see, when we disregard and don't think about that, it becomes problematic because, I mean, look around. From what I've seen, some changes can be made. I'm not saying they need to be. I said they can be made. So when somebody wants to do something positive, why is the first thought always, oh, respect them, okay? Well, sometimes you get tired of I would say, catering to a train that's going nowhere. It's just like stocks. You're not going to keep putting into a stock that keeps costing you money or where you keep losing money, right? So, I mean, Just like back in sports. It's like, why would I keep running up and down the court and passing to a guy that keeps missing the shots? But at the same time, the other team getting the rebound and they putting up points. So now because it was so necessary to pass to this person, or to keep feeding this person, as they like to call it in basketball, to keep feeding to this person, now we're down 30 points when we were up 10. Because it was so important to keep feeding that source. And at the end of the day, another interesting topic or point that I would like to make is, how do you think that actually might make that source feel? The fact that they were so valued that the coach kept telling you to pass to them, and they go miss 20 shots in a row, and they cause you all to blow a 20-point lead or a 10-point lead, and now you're down by 30 points. How does that make them feel? You see, this is kind of where I'm coming from with the whole defense type of thing. Not only have you hurt an entire whole, you also hurt them in particular too, because now, how do you think they feel about that? So I just think that some of these things need to be taken into consideration and thought about before you're ready to go ahead and, put that dummy in front of somebody, in a sense. But just keep those things in mind. That actually leads into my next subtopic of the detriment of defense. See, those types of things can lead to detrimental effects on others, even including ourselves. So, lack of growth or stunning of growth, no room to germinate, no room to, to gain this and that, all because, in a sense, you could also call it accountability if you want to, but in a sense, you were never exposed to a different perspective sometimes, and because of the defense from someone else against someone else, which is also a part of nature. But the thing about it is, so what happens? What ultimately happens? But nobody may not even have the answers to those, because they're too busy defending instead of listening, right? So, like I say, sometimes, maybe you should go listen to the offense, instead of, trying to stop them all the time, in a sense. Because, well, like I say, who knows what can be developed? Who knows what can be done? That's the nature of it. I titled this next one, Run, Shoot, or Lead Instead of Being a Tackler or Blocker. So in a sense, what I'm speaking on right here is basically saying, on offense, whether it be basketball, football, in a sense, why not run the ball, shoot the ball, or just lead the team down the field or down the court instead of just trying to tackle or block the shot? That's just like walking into a classroom and telling the teacher to stop teaching because the kids want to go outside and play at recess. So what they gonna learn? So it's I've been in some situations to where I have, had debates even with people about saying like, okay, so, you're telling me that this is a bad idea, this, that, and the third. I guess you can say that some of these people weren't what you would consider leaders, but in a sense, what I learned back in school is that, it was a popular question we had one day where my professor asked, he said, are people born leaders or is leadership learned? Some people said they're born, some said it's learned. And he said it's learned. I agree. And in a sense, I know that probably causes a sense of defense. Like I say, all perspectives are understood and accepted, but that's my point, all perspectives. And I wouldn't necessarily consider it don't put it up as a defense if the perspective is not reviewed, not reread, not thoroughly. It doesn't cover all the bases of what of all the points that it should, in a sense. So basically, I'm just saying, why not just choose to put your opinions of something aside? I'm not saying that they don't matter. It's just, I was just saying, how about just do that and just maybe, and sometimes it could be about what maybe, I wouldn't necessarily say background, but experiences, things of that nature that could also cause these things. But the thing about it is, you can develop additional experiences, but that depends on you. And that's what I'm going to with the offense versus defense. If you keep defending, you'll never get on offense. You'll never throw the ball. You'll never run. And you'll never experience getting it to the end zone and making a basket, which ultimately leads to what? Winning the game, right? So, I mean, it's just some tidbits about that. Anybody else has anything else they'd like to add? Those are pretty much the main points I wanted to talk about with you all today. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. I did. I really enjoyed talking about those topics. And yeah, so without further ado, though, I would like to conclude this episode with you all today by making a comparison, or speaking on the comparison that I wanted to talk about a while back, but I just got it all in today. So I wanted to do a comparison between two popular dress shirts from two different stores. I can't exactly tell you what, well, I'm not going to say that, but I want to do basically a comparison of them. And they're both white dress shirts, both decent stores that I shop at. I wouldn't say frequently, but every now and then. And without further ado, with one of them, one store is a bit more, I guess, a bit more bigger on quality than the other store, but they both do present decent quality. And when I observed the dress shirts side by side, one is one that I've had for, I would say, a little while, maybe over a year or so, and the other one is one that I just got in. And I observed the buttons, the fabric, the material, the cuffs, the neck area, and I concluded that basically they're both nice shirts in a sense. One of them, I would say, it's stronger, firmer, probably lasts a little longer than the other. It's a little rougher, this and that. I don't really have them in front of me right now to necessarily tell you the material that's in each of them. But it's going to be interesting putting them side by side and actually noticing the differences in both of them as I wear both of them. So like I said, both of these are white dress shirts. And they're quite classy in a sense. I think they're actually both classic fits. I think one is a slim fit and one is a classic fit. So I look forward to putting them on and bringing you back more feedback after I've got equal wear from the both of them. But with all that being said, that will be all for today. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. So long, and I hope you all got something from today's episode. Please give me any feedback if you would like to. Let's chat, let's talk, and so long for this one. I'll see you next time on CamCast with your host, Cam. Thank you all, and have a good day.